Do you remember the old Legion Hall?
Well, I never was to a show in the thing, but I remember being through a lot of dances at that thing when I was a kid. And then they had a roller skating deal going in there for once in a while, for 1 year or 2 or 3. There was an outfit that come in, I guess, and they rented roller skates. I don't imagine they'd done the floor any good in there, but
I heard someone say that they had some of these really big curtains and they would have advertisements on them.
well, they did. They used to have an outfit that come through. I think they call them the Dre Company, and they put a play on, and then after the play, there must have been musicians in this outfit, and then they put a dance on. I remember going to a few of those plays, I guess. I don't remember anything about them, but in fact, I can remember when them circuses used to come into Hinsdale.
Were you around when they had the elephant?
Oh yeah, I think pretty much all of those circuses had to have elephants, so that was the main attraction. Most of those farm kids had never seen one, so.
Where would they set up the circus?
Well, there used to be a vacant lot. It would have been south of the old Legion Hall, from there over to the post office that Stubbs Rudder had. And there must have, that's the only place I can remember setting up, I guess, was right there. Most of that's under the school now.
Did you ever get to ride the train?
We used to go, anytime there was a tournament in town, a lot of times the tournaments were at Wool Point. And the only way you had to get to Wool Point was take the damn train down there. So we rode the skidoo. A whole bunch of us kids would get on the thing and stay over, I don't remember, 3 days or whatever the tournament was.
Do you remember the old train depot?
Oh yeah. The steam engine was still coming through when I was a kid. And some of us kids wouldn't have anything to do later in the evening, and we'd go over and BS with the depot agent, because he'd be sitting there with nothing to do. So he'd put up with those kids, I guess.
Do you remember when it burned?
Yep, I do. So, and there was a guy that, what the hell did he do? He knew there was the bank had a shipment of cash coming in, so he went over to the depot and picked this stuff up and then set the depot on fire to cover up the crime. So, well, he'd been a depot operator, this guy. I don't even remember now what his name was.
Was it Stuff?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Stuff was he was an elevator operator.
Trying to remember, I was just talking to David Hillman about this yesterday. I want to say it was like Eddie, but I can't remember what the guy's name was. He gave me some papers on it.
No,
I want to say the guy's name was Eddie, but that's probably wrong.
I guess I wouldn't know who that would.
But he figured he could get away with it, huh?
Well, he did for a little while. He went up to, I think he took a job on the railroad up to Whitewater. And he was up there for a little while. Well, Bud Hillman was managing the bank at that time, and he said, I knew just exactly who had robbed that thing. He said, well, he could tell by he said the guy that had bills he couldn't pay, and all of a sudden he started paying his bills, and, and there was a few other things, and Bud said, I knew goddamn well just exactly, and when the railroad was investigating it, well, they were positive it wouldn't be one of their own men that would have did the robbing. So Bud said they wouldn't listen to me. But anyway, they finally got this guy to admit, I guess, that he was a thief in the thing.
When did you meet Agnes?
Well, the first time I remember her, Harvey Jones furnished the car, and I think a friend of mine by the name of Buck Gosh and somebody else, we went up to the Circus to the show, and Agnes was a little goddamn kid at that time, is all I remember. There was another story that Sid Simons and I got involved in years ago. Sid and I were on the elevator board, and Ed Swanson. And Ed called me up one day and wanted to know if I'd seen Wilbur. Wilbur Stuff was her manager. And I said, yeah. I said, I talked to him yesterday. He was the clerk of the school board, and I was on the school board up at Genevieve, so I talked to Wilbur about school business. Well, I told Edwin, I said, I talked to him, and he seemed kind of despondent at the time. I said he was talking about committing suicide and everything else. So, well, anyway, this was on a Sunday, I guess. So Monday, Sid and I go over. We had to break into the elevator because Wilbur had taken the keys. So we got in and we dumped the waste paper basket out, and Wilbur he owed everybody. He hadn't paid any bills for, Christ, I don't know how long. He owed on the washer and the dryer and the kids' teeth, and I don't remember what the hell all else. Well, I remember telling Ed and Sid both, I said, this don't look good to me. Well, anyway, we were short a bunch of local receipts. I don't know what it was, $200 or $300 worth. Well, anyway, we finally we hired another elevator operator because Wilbur was gone, and you have to have somebody. So, of course, then you got to weigh the elevator up. Well, we were. All of a sudden we get the envelope from Scobie or someplace, and a bunch of these receipts were in that, checks and whatnot. Wilbur got up there and either got scared to cash them, either that or he wanted to make people think that he went to Canada or something. Well, anyway, so, well, perhaps we're not too bad a shape after all. So, when you change managers, the first thing you gotta do, you gotta have a weigh up. Because if you're a new manager, you wanna know how many, if there's supposed to be 99,000 bushel in there, there better be there. So we started weighing this, one of the bins on the east side up. And there's an automatic scale, and that's the way you check the bushel, because every time it dumped, I think I don't remember, it was 5 or 10 bushel or what it was. So we were setting, we got everything set up, and you gotta have an empty bin in the first place, I guess, so we were dumping into that. Well, after about 20 minutes or so, I think we'd just got a pinochle game started, and the goddamn automatic scale stopped dumping. So we thought it was got to be something wrong with that. Well, this guy that we'd hired, this Delroy Brecky, he jumped on the man lift and he went to the top of the elevator to check the automatic scale, and I went over on this bin that we were checking, and that had an inspection door on the bottom, was about 3 feet off the floor, and I tapped on that, and I thought, well, hell, there's no grain against it, that damn thing's empty. So I opened it up and got to looking up in there. I had a trouble light, and I see way up in the top there's some carpenter work up there. So, well, anyway, when this Brecky came back down, and I told him, I said, this bin's empty down there. Well, he said, it's full up on top. Well, this manager, as the bin went up, once it got under the roof, it got fairly narrow. And it was just right to take a goddamn grain door and put across there. And so Wilbur had a grain door on there, and he'd put about, I suppose, maybe 75 bushel on that. So if you were on the work floor and looked over, it looked like the bin was full. So anyway, I go upstairs and start probing bins. Well, that wasn't the only one that Wilbur had did some goddamn carpenter work on.
Just stole a bunch of grain from you guys, huh?
No, he never stole a goddamn bushel. And the USDA, the guy, see, at the time that was the way the elevator were living on the commodity credit grain. You got the elevator got so much a bushel for storing it for them. And so as far as the government was concerned, if the elevator was short 1 bushel, it was commodity credit grain because it was never segregated. So, well, anyway, all of a sudden we wound up short a whole bunch of wheat. As far as it was gone, well, this government guy come in with his briefcase and sat down at the desk there in the elevator, and he was gonna, I think everybody told him that Wilbur was a bookkeeper. I said, done through the books. Well, he said, if it's through the books, he said, it won't take me too long to figure that out. Well, anyway, he dinged around, and about 10 days later, he folded his briefcase up, and we said, oh, what'd you find out? We haven't got the faintest idea how he got rid of that wheat. Well, he wasn't stealing the goddamn wheat in the first place. What he was doing, if somebody come in, where the mistake was made, we were selling chicken feed and calf feed and salt, and anytime somebody would come in and they'd say buy $50, $75 worth of that stuff, Wilbur would just take and cash the check and stick the money in his pocket. and showed that he'd bought a pickup load of wheat, and the wheat was never there. So it was a system that he made work for a number of years. Yeah, this USDA guy, he was bound and determined that if it was in the books, it wouldn't take him long to figure it out. Well, he never did figure it out.
I think he should have figured it out within 10 days.
Well, he never did figure it out. Wilbur, I think, after he finally turned himself in and come back, and then he told the board how he'd done it, so. Well, we'd weighed the elevator up, I think, every year. If you're gonna keep track of things, you're gonna have to do that. And that one year, we weighed up and we were short, I forget what it was, 700-800 bushel. Wilbur said, I know we didn't weigh that one bin up. So we go back over and run all the grain back through again, and Wilbur made it come out right the second time, so. What you do on those things, you give the goddamn manager a vacation and take his keys and said, we'll see you after we get through with this thing. You know, they should never be there when you're weighing up. That's something you learned afterward.
Yeah. Well, the rodeo's tomorrow. How many of those you been to?
I don't go to rodeos. I just don't care for them.
I don't blame you there. I've been sitting out there and get hailed on. It's like,
Well, the thing I remember when I was on the ranch, you always had some man that thought that he was a cowboy that would go riding the local rodeo, and then first thing you know, he'd get all busted up, and then you were short a man again, so.
It just meant more work for you.
Well, you had to go hire another man usually.